A reading from 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, verses 5 and 6. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of workings, but the same God works all of them in all people. September 3rd, Monday, is Labor Day. It's just around the corner. And on Labor Day, we pause, we take time off, and we celebrate the labor and the men and the women of America who work so hard to see that things get done. But I've often thought that we celebrate Labor Day in a rather strange way. We honor labor. We celebrate work. So what do we do on Labor Day? We take the day off, run away from our work, and go and play. Well, Labor Day gives us an opportunity to ask ourselves, what does work mean? What does it mean that I'm employed? What is labor? And how does this fit in with our Christian calling? It is a Reformation insight that all work is sacred. Let's say all noble work is sacred. I realize there might be some professions that we would have our doubts about. But in the general scheme of things, one thing that happened with Martin Luther was he elevated the level of work. Up to this point, everybody thought that only the clergy or only those who took holy orders had sacred jobs blessed by God. But Luther said, all noble work is sacred. All work is a calling from God. Not just the pastor, not just the priest, not just those who promise holy orders, but all work is a calling from God. And I think you recognize this to some degree. How many times have you said that for that nurse, it's a calling? Or for somebody to do this, it's a calling. We used to say that our occupation was a vocation, which is Latin for calling. Calling by whom? Well, a calling from God. You see, when you enter into the world, whether it's into the labor field or in the family life, we must realize that we're not just doing work by itself, but all good work is a calling from God. So when you are a parent, a mom or dad, you are called by God to raise your children up and see to it that they're educated so that they have a great future. If you are called as a carpenter, you are called by God to be the very best carpenter you can be. And you help your neighbor to maybe build a home so that that neighbor is sheltered from the elements. Or if you're a teacher, you are called by God to see to it that the children in your classroom receive a top-notch education and you prepare them for future life. All callings, all occupations are a calling from God. Not just religious, but even in our secular world, because it's within our occupation that we are called by God to serve our neighbor in need, and by serving our neighbor in need, we praise and honor God. How do you praise God today? How do you give honor to God? Well, the best way of honoring God and the best way of worshiping God is by serving your neighbor in need. And isn't that what we do in our daily callings, our daily occupations? I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for some 47 years. And it is my job to be the best pastor I can be and share the gospel of Christ with my parishioners. And it is my job to work with people so that they can be better people and serve their neighbor in need. That's our calling from God, and we find it in our occupation. I find it a sad thing that most people don't have that kind of understanding that their work is a calling from God. George Gallup did a poll. 74% of all American workers are unhappy or dissatisfied with their work or their job. I would find that extremely difficult to get up in the morning and go work at a job all day, a job that you don't want to work at. That's got to be hard, and my heart goes out to people that have been forced into that position. All callings, all jobs are callings from God, and they're meant to be an opportunity. In that job, that occupation, we have an opportunity to serve God and to serve one another and help our neighbor in their need. Now, once you understand your job is a calling, you will find that it's a blessing. Embedded in the idea that all work is noble and a calling from God is the idea that work blesses not only the people we work for, but it's also a blessing to us. Like I said, I've been a pastor for 47 years. I retired 3 years ago, and I'm still doing ministry. Why? Because I enjoy it. I like it. I like working with people, and I'm called by God to share the gospel. And so it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to reach out to you. It's a blessing to be able to share some good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's also a blessing to tell you, Happy Labor Day. But I also hope that Labor Day isn't just one day a year. I hope you have a happy Labor Day 365 days next year, and may God bless you and be with you. Thank you.